Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, back to late night Villa Fillers, mate. But boy, have we got a good episode for our wonderful viewers and listeners. But before we get into that, mate, how are you doing?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I'm in my element right now. I have watched so much sport this weekend. It's absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, all of the European leagues, it's running season, it's do or die football. And then once that all wraps up, I'm spending my nights buried in the NBA playoffs.
Love to see it.
Mate, it's just been excellent. It's just been excellent. To put a bit of spin on this, Wes Eden's Milwaukee Bucks, despite finishing up as the one seed in the East, have got a lot to do. They're currently 2-1 down in their series. Miami Heat. Giannis has picked up a bit of an injury, so they're looking to battle back from that, which is going to be very exciting. So fingers crossed for you, Wes, that both of your teams can have a good end to their respective seasons. I've got no doubt that Milwaukee will turn that one around. But whether Villa can maintain this form and finish in the European spots, mate, is going to be very interesting to see. And I think this game midweek could have big bearings on that.
You're absolutely right, mate. You're absolutely right. A win puts Villa fifth in the Premier League. That's right. You guys heard me correctly. Fifth. That is I'm having like war flashbacks to the Kazoo title race, mate. Like, that's what it feels like. It's been so long since we've seen the lofty heights of the top of the table, and I mean, this as you alluded to, mate. There's been so much going on today. The fallout of the FA Cup penalty shootout. You know that means that seventh spot is a Europa Conference League playoff spot confirmed. There's so much happening. It's hard to take it all in, and that's why Dan and I are here to help you guys as much as we can with that. Should we start with the transfer rumour section of the pod, mate?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, I think you guys would have probably seen it's sort of come from Football Insider, but there have been various of the reports linking Kang-in Lee back to Aston Villa. Now, this is a rumour that we covered 4 months ago, Dan, isn't it? This is something that was very hot in the winter transfer window. Newcastle were reportedly interested at the time as well. Allegedly, Kang-in Lee's agent has been in Birmingham holding talks specifically with Aston Villa. And I know, mate, you are absolutely gassed for this one. I know that this is a player that I think if we don't get any of the targets that we spoke about before with Guendouzi, with Dumfries, with Pedro Gonçalves, if we got this guy, I know this is your summer made.
Oh, mate, for sure. He's just an absolute joy. To hear our full sort of initial deep dive on him, it's in the episode where we spoke about Harry Maguire, and although we didn't sign Alberto Valero, we did sign Alex Moreno, so we were kind of close, I guess. It's in that episode, so like there's a bit of a deeper dive in that episode. But for those that didn't catch it, he's just been a joy this season for Mallorca. In fact, the one thing I'd implore anyone to do is go and search his name into Twitter and watch the goal that he scored today. He gets the ball. It's the 94th minute. Mallorca are at home to Getafe. They're 2-1 up. Getafe sent everybody up for a corner. The ball breaks on the edge of the box, and Kang-in Lee goes coast to coast from one box to another, covers the whole 100 yards, whatever it is, and tucks it away into the top corner to get his 5th goal of the season. 29 games, 5 goals, 4 assists, sorry. And although that doesn't sound all too remarkable, you have to remember that, as I said, he is currently playing for Mallorca, who aren't exactly a stellar side in La Liga. They've not had a terrible season, by their own standards. They're floating in and around the mid-table, which is certainly considered punching above their weight over in Spain. But yeah, is when you look into those below the surface numbers, you see 28 passes per 90, 80% pass accuracy, which I know this is something we speak about a lot, mate, for that kind of those creative positions in those 10 roles. That's pretty good. 1.8 key passes to go along with that per 90, 12 big chances created, 2.3 successful dribbles per 90 with a 66% dribble success. This guy is an absolute joy. I genuinely love watching him play. he came over and there was this really sort of interesting arrival of three really talented Asian players come to La Liga at the same time. He sort of landed in and around Takefisa Kubo, who went to Real Madrid at the time, is now Real Sociedad, and Roulet, who went to Espanyol. And he stuck around and, he's had to sort of float around La Liga, and he's come to Mallorca and he's found a home for himself. Scored a brace earlier today, his first time to do that, the first ever South Korean to do that in La Liga. It's just a really good feel-good story, mate, and he's on a really nice upwards trajectory. I don't think it would cost Villa an arm and a leg, but he's a really creative, fun player that I think when you add him to that rotation that we have going along the sort of forward line, I think he'd fit right in.
Absolutely, man. It's funny because there was talks, I think it was probably from Football Insider again, of Emery being a huge fan of Karim Mitoma. And I think it's completely fair to say that is never going to happen. And if it does, it's going to be 50 million plus that you're going to have to pay for him. I think if he does leave Brighton, he goes to a team that's in the top four, and a team that Brighton wouldn't see as potential Europa League, Conference League rivals. But Kang-in Lee is the perfect alternative, right? He's just obviously not Premier League proven, but it's one to get excited about, mate. As you say, that guys, when Dan gets excited about a player from La Liga, that's when you should get excited about a player from La Liga. This guy watches more La Liga than anyone. So,
oh man, I just get excited because we're signing a player from La Liga. It doesn't mean that they're good. It's just like I know a little bit about them.
That's the Wiseman rubber stamp seal. But no, it's an exciting link. It's an exciting player, mate. And as you say, mate, I'd implore everyone to check out that goal. But Brighton, it's not Brighton, it's Fulham. We've got Fulham on Tuesday.
Thank God it's not. Yeah,
I couldn't tell
them. Be so like them, mate.
Yes, no, absolutely not. They were in, as we mentioned yesterday, mate. It was a bit of a snooze fest, really, wasn't it? Fulham Leeds, and it's to be expected. They're sort of comfortable. I think a lot of people would have had them to go down, would have put them down as one of the teams to drop back down, but they've consolidated their position in the league early on, and it's just as well considering Mitrovic is currently serving an 8-game ban, and Marco Silva's just come back from a 2-game ban himself. But this is, I think the one area that I look at Fulham, and what does have me worried, is that midfield area, mate, because they have two very talented players, and in Joao Palhinha, what a player, but also Harrison Reed, a player who's had a really good season and probably gone under the radar. I believe Mauricio Pochettino gave him his debut at Southampton, didn't he, at about 18 years old. I never really thought much of him, I can't lie. And when Fulham signed him, I thought this is a really... there's always them transfers you see with the teams you expect near the bottom half, just sort of like trading players, and you're like, well, that's not going to go well, is it? But it has. He's been really good. Obviously, he scored a goal against us at the Cottage in the game that Gerrard got sacked in as well. Mm-hmm. And it's a really interesting midfield partnership, isn't it, mate? And sort of from deep positions, they're really good at instigating that attack.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think, when you look at Joao Palhinha and what he brings to that midfield, and I think he brings a quality, and I think this is why, Fulham have done a really good job this season, and it feels as if it's ended on a bit of a lull because they were competing, in and around the spots that we've sort of been occupying over the last couple of weeks. But, if you'd have taken, if you said it to Craven Cottage, look, you'll be ninth, basically going into May, give or take what the results of this game, they would have snatched your hand off for it. There has been a bit of a dip in sort of since the turn of the year, but they have picked up back-to-back wins. Yes, back-to-back wins going into this game against Everton and against Leeds. So there's a slight caveat that, those against two sides down there, but it's at this time of the year that playing against relegated sides gets that a little bit harder. Just ask Arsenal, because all of a sudden the heat is really going up and it's do or die football for them, that, they can't afford to lose these games. So it's no easy feat to go and beat sides that are around the bottom at the moment. And you can make an argument that actually having a team like Fulham, who could be one of the first sides to be on the beach, given that, they've dropped out of the European race and that, they're now floating in and around the mid-table. there's something in that perhaps. But yes, I think João Palhinha brings a quality that is really unfull in that he's really hard tackling. He's a real physical presence, likes those real, aggressive battles in midfield, and that's where he excels. That's really enabled them to kick on this season because I think, traditionally when you look at Fulham and there was that whole doing of Fulham season and everything like that when they signed players who were sort of very technically good in their own right, but were very soft and there was never a real emphasis on having an aggressive team that could compete physically in the Premier League. They've really changed that this season. And I think at times it's gone too far when you look at what happened with Mitro and everything like that at Old Trafford. A suspension that he's still serving. It's not been very Fulham in that regard. And I think by and large, maybe Old Trafford excluded, Fulham have enjoyed that this season. And so, yes, it's going to be a good game, mate. And Palhinha is a very good player. And I think Fulham might be a little bit disappointed they haven't managed to cling on for Europe because that might have been one of the things that they could have used to keep him at Craven Cottage, maybe even beyond the end of this season. So I imagine there's going to be plenty of clubs sniffing around because we know ourselves that, there's not a lot of top level sixes going around these days.
Would you have him, mate? Would you take him?
Of course, I love him. I love him. I'm so jealous that they have him. And I think when Boomer's been out, I think Dendonker's done well, but Brentford maybe showed that, he's not. I think if we're going to be competing on two fronts of European football, can you trust Dendonker to play 15, 20 games a season? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're fair questions to have. They're fair questions to have. We spoke about it a few months ago, didn't we? Like Portugal have slyly just got a really talented generation of players sort of now and coming through. And it's the place to be recruiting players, which is obviously great news for us considering we now own a Portuguese team. So hopefully we can find the next greatest Portuguese talent and have them come through. One thing that I am, you're not going to believe me when I say I'm concerned about Fulham's left-hand side, which consists of Willian and Anthony Robinson, but I genuinely am because, Anthony Robinson has been a player, we was thinking with him about 2 years ago, and I really wanted him. And he's been okay. He's turned out, he's probably not been as good as we expected, or maybe even AC Milan expected, as obviously that transfer fell through, didn't it, when he was at Wigan. He's a player I saw a lot of in the Championship and I really like the look of. And he recently made his 100th appearance for Fulham, and he looks every bit the part of Premier League player. Against Leeds, 2 interceptions, 2 blocks, 2 clearances made. Man of the match in that boring game, I have to admit. There is probably a part of me that is somewhat biased towards American players at the moment, just considering what I'm doing at work at the moment in terms of USA players. But he's slyly like a really good player, and Willian has shown his class as well. It's so funny because you cut to sort of 12 months ago. Willian is back in Brazil. He's back in his home country after having a disastrous time at Arsenal, really sinking Arsenal when he joined them from Chelsea. And he was getting booed by his own fans at his club. And Fulham have gone in. It's funny as well. Another one, Andres Pereira, they've took a punt on from Fulham.
Yes.
Obviously, he's a known quantity to a certain degree in England, never really played a whole bunch for Manchester United. But they really took a gamble on both Willian and Pereira, and they've both been absolutely fantastic, man. They've stuck everything on red and they've come out winning. And I am, just at 34 years of age, you just don't lose that bit of quality. And I think Willian is probably one of them players. I think his time at Arsenal probably unfairly tarnishes him because he's wonderful, man. He's probably maybe I'm over exaggerating saying he's one of the most underrated players of his generation, but I do think he's slept on.
Yeah, no. Certainly this season. Yeah. Isn't it interesting that, when Fulham made, I know Andreas Pereira was definitely one of their first signings for them. And then Willian came not too long after that. And we were like, oh God, here they go again. It's Ryan Babel all over again. Do you know what I mean? And it's amazing how they've turned out. I think Marcus has done a really, really good job this season. As I said, I think, they have to sort of look at this season sort of holistically and and how it's all ended up. And they've had a pretty good time with it, and those players have been key to it. We do have them to thank a little bit because obviously, as you sort of mentioned not long ago, mate, this Fulham did us the favour of getting Steven Gerrard sacked, and what a sliding doors moment that is. Since that game, we have not looked back, even going into the very next one. And that Aaron Danks game against Brentford, it's just been upwards and upwards pretty much since then. And we have a good record against Fulham. Normally, I get to come on this podcast, these previews, mate, so Villa haven't beaten so-and-so since 1904. But no, we have lost just one of our last 18 home games against Fulham, winning 10, drawing 7, winning the last 3 in a row. We last lost to them at Villa Park all the way back in April 2014. So it all sounds rosy when you put it like that. But the only thing, and I've never, I'm surprised you nor I, perhaps you have, I've not really picked up on this, is that midweek games at Villa Park, the stats will tell you we don't tend to perform that well, and that's the caveat to these positive stats. There's always one, isn't there? We've not actually won any of our last 9 midweek home games in the Premier League. You have to go all the way back to July 2020. We beat Arsenal 1-0. That's the last time we won a midweek Prem game at Villa Park. That's crazy, isn't it?
Hey, what? That
almost
can't be right.
3 years. Almost 3 years, apparently.
That's crazy.
The opposite's telling me. If anyone can prove you wrong, please do, because I can't believe I've not picked up on that. But yeah, that's what I'm getting from Holte.
Well, I'm glad you've mentioned it, mate, because we know Unai loves shattering these records.
Yes,
he's got them lined up, and he's just going through them one by one, absolutely breaking each and every hoodoo. It's funny you mentioned the form, because I think obviously that form that you mentioned is Premier League, right? That's not Championship. Fulham definitely had the better of us in the Championship more often than not. It's always just I hate Fulham. Everything. I hate them, but I love them as well because they're like one of my favourite away grounds. It was probably my first away day. It's my most done away day. Craven Cottage is brilliant. It's like the away end is like the old sort of school stages that you had in like high school where you do your Christmas play on. It's amazing. I remember when Kodja got sent off for reacting to a stamp on Fredericks, and Grealish scored a screamer.
Yeah, Jack scored a great goal, didn't he?
30 seconds after the second half had started, and we was on our way up the concourse, up the stairs, and we just missed the goal. But it was like the limbs were crazy, and people was just falling everywhere, and it was absolutely mad. I didn't see the goal, but it just descended into chaos. But yeah, Fulham are just one of them teams. I don't know. I never feel too confident, mate. But I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, mate, I've not long just rewatched the highlights again from Brentford on Match of the Day, and like it's just reaffirmed. And even watching the Newcastle Spurs game earlier, mate, as you mentioned about Gerrard sacking, all that kind of stuff. Watching Spurs go to St James's Park and put in that performance made me feel so grateful that we went out and pursued Unai in the way that we did and got him. Because you look at all of the other managerial appointments, how many of them have been sort of season defining? We're talking about Everton a few weeks ago looking comfortable. They're getting dragged back into it. Dino managed to get a big win obviously this weekend, didn't he? Maybe that keeps Leicester in and about the hunt for survival, but there's been 13 managerial changes in the Premier League, the most ever. Yet it feels like there's only one club that's truly nailed it, and that's us.
Yeah, I think the only other one you could throw into that conversation is Gary O'Neill, but wasn't he?
Or maybe Deserti with as well, actually.
Yes.
I would say Gary O'Neill was great because he's like, I think points per game, he's like 9th in the Premier League, which is crazy. I mean, they look like they're out of it as well. But you're right, man. That was a pretty, I don't want to say inspired appointment, but he's taken his opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, no, for sure, mate. It's it's crazy, mate. And I think this is we do have to make the most of this game, and we have to make the most of this sort of good feeling because there's that trip to Old Trafford at the weekend, and that can really go either way. And I know that's a really blanket statement, but like You just never know, what you're going to get with United week by week in terms of which version of them are going to turn up. And it kind of alludes to what I said after the Brentford game, and that I'm glad that we had that slip up there and then. So I think if we go to Old Trafford and play like we did in the second half at Brentford, we'll lose. I think against a side like Brentford, we ended up coming away with a decent point. And so I think when you look at this game, you look at, more positive stats. We've been really good at Villa Park recently. We've won our last 4 home games there by an aggregate score of 9-0. Again, mate, I don't know what happened in 1998. I think John Gregory was really he was on some mad stuff back then. Because again, I'm going back to 1998, the year that you and I were born. For the last time we won 5 straight top 5 games at Villa Park without conceding a goal. Was mad. Oh wait, no. So the last time we won 5 games, at Villa Park in a row in the league, 1998. The last time we did so with clean sheets, all the way back to 1983. So there's another record for you, Unai.
Oh my God, let's go get it, man. Go get it, Unai.
Yeah.
Let's do it, mate. Do you know what? You've made me feel more confident now. I'm gonna have to ask you a score prediction though, mate.
Let's go 2-0.
I'll take that. I will absolutely take that.
It.
I'm going to be boring and agree with you, mate. I'm going to say 2-0 as well. Before we go, though, I saw an interesting tweet. Anyone who's not following Dan or I on Twitter, dude, I don't tweet as much, but you should follow us. I come across an account called Swiss Football Data, and they have predicted the Europa League participants. And I'm assuming this is based off points per game and all this kind of stuff. And they've got every single team that is in, or they believe is going to finish within the Europa League spots. And they've clearly, it has to be points per game because the teams are potted. So that, and obviously that is based on league position and all that kind of stuff. So pot 1 in the predicted Europa League participants, Internazionale, Villarreal, Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, we can actually laugh that one off, can't we? Spurs aren't going to be in there. Bayer Leverkusen, Sporting Club de Portugal, AC Milan, and Sporting Braga. Now, pot 2, mate, this is where it gets exciting because that is where we sit. Pot 2 with PSV Eindhoven, Real Betis, Lask, AS Monaco. I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing the Hungarian team. I butchered it when I said it to you earlier, mate. Karabakh, Mol, and obviously, I'm not going to, it'll be on the screen. You
shout out Ferenc Varos.
There we go. Dan's nailed it. Dan is a Hungarian native. But it's funny. You go from there. Right? There are some huge teams in pot 1 and 2, right? And then you can be anywhere from Milan to Monaco, Monte Carlo, to then Aberdeen in pot 4, or Prague in the Czech Republic with Sparta Prague, or why not a trip to Macedonia? Let's go see Sheriff.
Let's do it.
Absolutely crazy, bro. Honestly, if we can manage this, wow. I mean,
let me look at that. So pot 1, if you're looking at a dream group, well, obviously ourselves coming from pot 2, we'll take Basel from pot 1. So Basel will be that team from pot 3. I mean, it's a toss up. Give me any. Sheriff will do as you said. I'm looking at
Antwerp.
Yep. Royal Antwerp, take it. Astana, one of those boys. And then, pot 4, it'd be rude not to look at, that Serbian team. I'm looking at Kakariki, something like that. Maccabi Haifa, Luzern, Baka Topola from Serbia. What a side they are. I mean, mate, this is what I mean, man. This is why the Europa League is great, because you can have AC Milan 1 week and then a Wi-Fi password the next. And that's why it's excellent. I can't just love to be a part of it, mate.
Wait, you're not wrong. How good would a trip to AEK Athens be, mate, on a Thursday?
Bring it on.
Man said Euros and the Greek gods. Let's do it. Come on. Enrich us culturally. I thought it'd be worth mentioning. I thought is a really fun thing. This will no doubt be a short or a TikTok, so that will all be on screen and you can see that, or you can follow us on Twitter and you'll be able to see it. But yeah, no, Dan, that was it. Did you know what? The Villa is in a really good place right now? It feels like, we're enjoying doing this. Villa are playing well. Uploads are coming thick and fast. You guys are loving the content. You guys are loving the shorts. And Dan and I really appreciate that because a lot of
Yep.
effort is going into the channel at the moment. And, you know, we always say we do it regardless, win, lose or draw. If there's one person or if there's 1,000 people, we've been doing this for so long, it doesn't matter. So we are very grateful genuinely for everybody who has joined us on our journey. And maybe you've just joined, maybe you're about to join, maybe you've not joined yet, but you're about to.
Mate, if we get to Europe, how many episodes is that a week? Like,
So many, it's too many, mate.
it's crazy. Like 4 or 5 episodes every week. So now's the right time to clock in.
It is, mate. It is. If we make Europe as well, I think that's where we're gonna see the content on the channel. I mean, it will have to diversify just due to the. I mean, we've been obviously doing more of the shorts. You guys are seeing more stuff from us in, like, physically in the grounds, whether that just be reactions, chants, whatever. But like, if we make Europe, then maybe there's vlogs, maybe there's, you know what I mean? Like, the possibilities are endless. Maybe there's fan interview. I don't know. We have to think about how we can just best service our wonderful subscribers. But mate, whether it's Athens, Aberdeen, Milan, we'll be there. We'll be here, and there'll be a microphone in hand, and we'll be covering it. That's one thing that's for sure, isn't it, mate?
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, that's the dream. Dare to dream. And if anyone wants to sponsor any trips as well,
That's the only
really helpful. Yeah, that is the only thing. God, yeah, I mean, we've got ads back, but that's definitely not going to cover it. I don't know if you've logged into that recently, mate. It's pretty tragic. But you guys know we don't do it for that. That's just that's an added bonus. It pays our Adobe fee and keeps us at zero, really. And that's all we want for now. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure you let us know by hitting a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. If you've made it all the way, if you've made it to this point, let me know what your dream draw would be, and Dan and I will be interacting in the comments. You let us know what your dream draw is, and that's how we know you've made it all the way to the end. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Not blah, blah, blah.